Kendra Ruczak. I'm here at Butte Conference 2023 with the creative team behind Nimona. I'm so excited to be speaking with the directors and the creator of the graphic novel. If you could all introduce yourselves real quick to the camera.
Hey, I'm Stevenson. I'm the creator and the author and the illustrator of the graphic novel.
Hi, I'm nickbruno. I'm one of the directors.
Troy Quane, one of the other directors. Actually, there's only two of us,
There's
so
only
I don't know
two
why I
of
said it like that.
There's a third,
well, I
but
set
no
it
one
up
talks
that
about
way.
it.
Yeah,
The secret director.
Stevie didn't make it.
Okay, I'd love to hear from ND first. What was it like having your graphic novel actually become something you can see on screen, see everything come to life?
I mean, it was wild. Like, it started out as such a personal project, and it was just really me by myself. I wrote and drew and colored and lettered and did everything. And at first, I really didn't know if anyone was going to like it except for me.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, when I started getting an audience for the webcomic, and people started like tuning in each week and having conversations about what they thought that was going to happen, like already that was kind of bigger than I thought it would get. And then it became a graphic novel and it reached this whole new audience again. And that was, you know, surely that must be the height of this comic. And then suddenly, you know, I'm having talks about it becoming an animated movie. And then 8 years later, here we are. But it is to take something that really was just like this little almost private piece of my soul and have it become something that so many other people saw themselves in and put themselves in and just transformed those characters, shapeshifted that story into something totally new. And here we are. It's been pretty awesome.
So what was it like when you first came on board? What were you most excited about when you first became familiar with the material?
I mean, when you read the graphic novels, the characters just come to life in such an amazing way. I think that was the thing that attracted both Nick and I, is the journey of this character of Nimona, who was not like anybody you'd ever seen before. She was funny, and she had these really wonderful, heartfelt moments. And in between all that, she was just murdering everybody around her. And there was just something so refreshing about a character who could show sort of that sort of darker side that I think we all kind of have, but you still found her so endearing and aspirational, and you connect to her in an emotional way because you saw that a lot of that attitude and that comedy and everything was a cover for a real character dealing with true emotional like storylines. And I think that, you know, as a filmmaker, that's what you want to dive into, spend time with characters like that.
Hey, yeah, I'd love to hear your perspective too.
Oh man.
Your turn.
Yeah, listen, my perspective on the whole thing is I love the graphic novel. I loved how much fun it was, but also how it was about a character that was allowed to feel and be all those feelings at the same time. I feel like a lot of times in animation and things for family, they only show like the squeaky clean cookie cutter version of a cartoon character, and that's just not how we are. So I've just felt like it showed life in a more real way, even though it was in a medieval future and this character can transform into anything. It was just it was a lot of fun.
Aww. And ND, were there any sequences where you were especially excited to see them come to life on screen?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, there are a ton of scenes in the movie that are like, there's one that's kind of pulled exactly from the comic. It's the one where they play Monopoly together. And so that was really cool, just kind of seeing like, you know, going from this one-man show to being something that so many people came together to bring it to life, and just seeing the characters like truly animated, moving, talking, like interacting with each other. I think that, yeah, like there are a few scenes. That one's like pretty, honestly, like most of the scenes are my favorite. There's like some, except for that one. We don't talk about that one. Hate that one.
That was
Steve.
No, blame it on him.
No, but I think the one that's kind of the closest to my heart is honestly the climactic scene with Nimona's rampage through the city. Like, she's sort of consumed by all of like 1,000 years of anger and pain and fear and betrayal and all of these things that just she's been pushing down and trying to hide, and it just comes bubbling out of her. And the comic, the comic has kind of a dark and bittersweet ending, and so I knew that was going to be a hard sell for the movie. And I was like, how are they going to pull this off? And they just truly found this, you know, this place for her. It focused more on her grief and her sadness than on her anger like in the comic, but it truly, like, you feel every one of her emotions. She has this incredible, Chloe's just like scream of pure, just like all of these emotions like coming out at once, and I get goosebumps every time. So I think like seeing that journey to the screen was just like, it was really emotional.
Wow. Yeah, that's wonderful to hear. And then on the directing side, were there any parts of the process that really stood out to you as being especially challenging or rewarding?
Yes.
Perfect answer.
I mean, they all have their challenges. I mean, the reward is when you figure it out, right? Like, because there's that ending that Andy was talking about where you're trying to figure out scale and scope, and you want this to be this big monster movie. It means your finale. You still want everybody like dialed in for the action and adventure, but at the same time, the more important thing was the heart and the character that was driving all of that. So then you have like a really quiet scene where, after this big comedic, chase set piece in the marketplace, they end up under this overpass, and it really is just a scene about two characters talking, which sounds really easy and execution wise, but it's hard because there's not anything else to distract you that from just the emotion and the character that's happening in that moment. There's no, flashy camera moves or special effects or explosions. So they each come with a different set of challenges in that sense, one of scale, the other in simplicity. But at the end of the day, it's in both of those, I think, tapping into the character and the heart of it. And when you feel like you've got it right, and you feel the characters are, there's a fun thing that happens. It sounds very artsy-fartsy when you're watching this stuff and you go like, oh, wow, that character really got me. And you know that they don't exist technically. It's a collaboration of creation, writing, performance. You have a voice actor, an animator, so many people coming into that one moment, and then but to be swept away and actually have an emotional response to something as if that character on screen is there and existing. I mean, that's an amazing moment when you get to experience that.
That's wonderful. If you have anything for the
You go
process
first
you'd
next time.
love to go into.
Yeah, one of the, I think the most challenging scenes was like very much towards the end. There's this whole scene's about how we unfairly will judge people based on what other people say, and ultimately this film is about a relationship between two friends, Nimona and Ballister, and even Ballister makes his own mistakes about his friend, and at the end there's a fly on my head. Thank you. And at the end he realizes he messes up, and he's trying to figure out the right things to say, which means we had to figure out the right things to say. And we wrote a bunch of different things and tried a bunch of different well-written lines. And at the end of the day, it was really just him saying, I'm sorry, and not making any excuses, and just saying that he sees her now for who she really is. And I feel like that was a hard thing to do and figure out, but also it, the whole rest of the movie had to earn that line too. So it wasn't just getting that line right at the end. It was then going back through the rest of the movie and making sure that felt sincere. And that was challenging, but ultimately rewarding at the end of the day.
That's wonderful. And Andy, is there anything you wish you knew when you were first starting out, going into a creative industry? Any advice you wish you'd known that you could share with us?
Oh yeah, so much. I don't think I don't know. That's the weird thing about looking back. It's like, if I had known that stuff, like maybe it wouldn't have turned out this way. So it's kind of hard to say that. I mean, there's lots of lessons that I learned the hard way, both in animation and in making the comic, and I think that there's some things I'm glad I didn't know. Glad I didn't know how hard it was to make a comic before I started doing it. But it was really like, I don't know. I think you can only really get that information by doing it. And so in the end, I think it was, I don't know. There are definitely some things that like, I like, it was like an embarrassing way to find them out. And perhaps too many people saw me make those embarrassing mistakes.
It's all part of the
but
process.
I truly don't think that you can, like, when you look back, I don't think I could take them back if I wanted to.
Yeah. Oh, great. And same question for both of you. Any advice that you can share that?
I mean, Nate's right. The only other thing I would say to that is, I feel like in the beginning of my career, I was constantly comparing myself to others. And that is something that I think you do need to do to an extent. right? To just see what people are doing and how they're pushing and how they're working.
Yeah.
But also know that the biggest tool you have is yourself and your own stories and trusting and leaning into them, because that's what makes you uniquely you, I guess.
Right. That's great.
I mean, really, those are the key points. Like, it's embarrassing to make those mistakes, and it's hard not to compare yourself, but those are literally the things you have to not be afraid to make those mistakes. You have to not be afraid to find that specific voice. It's not arithmetic. This is not accounting. There's not like add X plus Y and you're going to guarantee to get Z. It's
Yeah.
I said Z instead of Z.
Yeah.
That was for
That formula
for
doesn't
our
mean
American
anything
audience.
over.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Audience, makes no sense.
Yeah,
in
no,
there.
yeah, no, no, it does. I think it does somewhere. I obviously, that's why I went into making cartoons, because math was not my specialty. But I mean, that's the truth of it. The truth of it is, it's being in a creative environment is about testing and seeing and experimenting and experiencing. There's no right or wrong. It's what you bring, your special voice to, your gut instinct, and finding people to surround yourself who will inspire you, who will challenge you, but ultimately at the end of the day support you and help you make those mistakes and not feel too bad about it, and celebrate when those mistakes turn into happy accidents, which is the fun part about it. You think you've messed up. I mean, some of our favorite things are when things go wrong, and all of a sudden you get something. I mean, the mechanical shark didn't work, and we got one of the best, movie soundtracks of all time in Jaws, right? Like, because it had to solve. You have to solve for a problem. So I think being open to that is what makes creativity so much fun.
Well, thank you all so much for being here today. Such a wonderful film.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.